Big teeth, wide-eyed stare, and possibly a bald head? Oh, that's not part of the criteria of a psychopath? I'm just weird? Okay. I'm kidding, I'm not a psycho, but they definitely exist out there. So how can you tell if you're interacting with one, or really, if maybe you're one? Over the years, psychology has developed a specific checklist for things that will indicate if you or the person you're interacting with is a psychopath, and the following are just those things. Here are 10 ways to tell if you're a psychopath. Number 10 is lack of realistic long-term goals. If you find that people often inform you that your desires are ridiculous, or you don't care about what's happening 6 months from now, you might just be a psychopath. Psychopaths are prone to living in the moment over making plans for the distant future. They have a hard time creating long-term goals and see going through life as a series of steps happening immediately with little regard for next year, next week, or even tomorrow. That said, they can still be incredibly goal-driven, plowing through obstacles in their way to obtain whatever they want as quickly as possible. Additionally, psychopaths have difficulties with making their goals, however immediate, realistic, as if they're living in some sort of fantasy world where common sense doesn't apply. You know, if I run through all these cars on the highway, I can get there faster. That makes sense to me. Number 9 is prone to boredom. How often are you feeling bored? If the answer is essentially all the time, you might have psychopathy. One of the biggest issues psychopaths face is chronic boredom, and that means they're always looking for some new, often extreme activity to do. Such excursions may quell the restless feeling for a time, but they quickly return. Some experts believe that due to their lack of emotions, psychopaths require constant excitement in order to feel normal, and it takes more stimulants to keep them excited. That's why they're always chasing for a cure for boredom. While the average human being simply feels impatient or unsatisfied when bored, a psychopath can feel a powerful need to do something about it, and that can mean purposely entering dangerous situations. I'm so bored, I think I might go get a tattoo. Done. Number 8 is criminal behavior. Many misinterpret being a psychopath as being a crazed serial killer, but that's actually a rare occurrence. It's unfortunately quite common for psychopaths to take part in law-breaking, whether it be petty theft or something much worse to someone else, partly due to their disconnect from society and their belief that the rules don't apply to them. Of course, not all psychopaths are criminals, but those who are tend to make elaborate plans for their crimes and usually leave little evidence at the crime scenes that they are, in fact, the culprit. Only an estimated 1% of people in the general population are psychopaths, but if you narrow that target group down to only those individuals doing time in prison, that number climbs quite a bit, as nearly 23% of those incarcerated have psychopathy. Number 7 is impulsive and promiscuous. That was impulsive. Psychopaths tend to tell lies and hurt others to gain superiority, all on instinct. Psychopathy is usually coupled with intelligence. Those with both are amazing con artists and utilize their skills in the moment, quickly going after whatever they want. It's common for them to be impulsive, making sudden decisions or changing their mind out of the blue. This impulsiveness is often dangerous, as the individual has little to no regard for their own safety or even the safety of others. Even those who don't break the law usually show some form of promiscuity, cheating on their partners or electing to have multiple temporary companions over a single committed one. That is, unless the commitment gives them an advantage somehow. Simply put, psychopaths are unpredictable and selfish, but extremely cunning. Sorry, that was unpredictable. Number 6 is an inflated sense of self-worth. Do you ever feel like the entire universe revolves around you? Well, as nice as that would be, 1, it doesn't, and 2, you might have psychopathy. If you do, leave a comment below, let us know who we're dealing with here. Really though, psychopaths have an inflated sense of self-worth, and arrogance in which they believe they are above certain rules and deserve privileges that most will never have. They identify themselves as more important than others, and that their opinions should be taken over those of their peers. They literally feel that they are pretty much the best at everything that they do and will argue that point, even when it appears clear that they very much are mistaken. Anyone can make up a personal history about themselves and pass it off as the truth, but a psychopath can convince themselves that they really deserve the bonuses that come with the fiction. Number 5 is pathological lying. If you find yourself lying about even the tiniest of things, even when they have nothing to do with you, you might just be a psychopath. These people are pathological liars, often lying simply on impulse, even when the outcome of the situation is already of no consequence to them whatsoever. They will also die with the lie, refusing to admit the truth until they have been completely proven to be misleading, and often they will even deny it then. The lie could be tiny, perhaps the inflation of a number, or the addition of a minute detail that is untrue in a story, or it could be an outright fabrication, such as concocting a story and passing it off as true events. When confronted with evidence that disproves their lie, psychopaths will either adapt the story accordingly or change the argument until they come out on top. We all have that one friend that lies about everything. You know who I'm talking about. Send this video to them. Let them know. Number 4 is manipulative. Some people are kind leaders, and those around them obey because of those attributes. But psychopaths pull off the same results through a much different method, manipulation. Through their talents in passing a fictional story off as the truth insanely well, and their ability to mimic the emotions of those around them, psychopaths are master manipulators. They make those around them feel for them and want to do what they ask, with the followers believing the actions are their own idea. Alternatively, the psychopath can use flattery to get what they want out of people, able to pass off their compliments and passion off as the genuine article. If you find yourself falsely complimenting people or putting them through guilt trips just to get something, well, you know who you are. Number 3 is no remorse or guilt. Psychopaths are often labeled as uncaring, extremely cold, and emotionally shallow people, and while that's not often missing the mark by much, each case is different. Many psychopaths care deeply about things, or even people. They simply aren't affected when they hurt them in some way. We all go through times when it would be nice not to feel remorse for a poor decision or action, but psychopaths may not be able to feel it all. The theory that these people were incapable of feeling guilt at all held strong until a study conducted in late 2016. In it, researchers revealed that psychopaths actually can feel remorse for their choices. They simply don't change their behaviors based on what they learned from the consequences of that event. Honestly, that's even worse, because it's like they know they're doing wrong and they're still gonna do it. Compulsion. Number 2 is never accepting responsibility. Nobody's perfect, even if some people believe that they are. We all make mistakes, and sometimes they're fairly massive ones, but if you're a psychopath, you likely have trouble admitting that. Psychopaths have a truly difficult time accepting pretty much any form of responsibility, even when that responsibility involves making up for or even simply acknowledging an error that's been made by them. They may simply lie about a negative situation to dodge the blame, or it's possible that they are so wrapped up in their own perfection that they actually believe that they are incapable of such a mistake and thus did not make it. Telling the truth and accepting responsibility could damage their perfect vision of themselves, even if it's just a tiny error that they made. And number 1 is a lack of empathy or conscience. Most people, when they hear about or picture in their minds other people going through hard times or painful situations, they can empathize at least to a point, relying on their own experiences with similar events that they've suffered through. However, psychopaths have a much harder time empathizing. Studies using magnetic resonance imaging, or MRIs, have shown that for many, the parts of the brain that should become active when they need to feel concern for another human being simply don't. Even though the psychopath understands that something bad has happened, they are incapable of truly feeling bad for that individual or individuals involved. However, there are some experts with an alternative theory, and they suggest that it may be within the psychopath's power to turn their empathy on and off. Well, now you know how to classify Jane that works across the way from you's behavior. You know who you're dealing with. Get out of there.